Psychological freedom. Oh, I think of, that's a good question.
Psychological freedom.
Psychological freedom, Amanda. I never heard that term before.
I don't know.
That's a tough one. I don't know.
Not much.
Not much.
Make a buttload of money.
I feel like I'm psychologically free. First word that comes to my mind is happiness.
Psychological freedom. Kind of like emotionally content.
Psychological freedom.
I think that that's a very interesting question.
Thought without your own judgment on your thoughts.
Freedom to think how you want, what you want, and be as creative and experimental as you want.
I think it really means reconnecting yourself with the idea that you're the captain of your own ship and that it is your responsibility to decide who you are, what you are, and what the value of that is, both spiritually and monetarily.
People letting you think for yourself. People leaving you alone to let you develop your own thoughts and opinions by yourself.
So are you saying that in some way psychological freedom is dependent of other people?
In a way, yes. I think you can reach it alone, but I think that it can be very influenced by other people.
It means being free of having to ask yourself questions like, what is psychological freedom?
Well, let me see. Stop letting people bully and scare you, which seems to be happening on a wholesale level right now. Sometimes I wonder if anybody can be psychologically free, given social pressures to conform and be nice and be politically correct and, in other words, conform, comply, and be controlled.
Being able to think whatever you want. Because psychological, I think about like your head, and then freedom is just being free like a bird. Not in a cage, an uncaged bird.
Freedom from constructions. Dane and I were just having this conversation.
Hi.
Like, I would say, I'm not that familiar with the word psychological, but as far as I'm concerned, it's like brain stuff in your brain. So like, it would be freedom from the individual constructions. Like each person makes up stuff in their head that they believe, and when it comes down to it, there's something in each person that's the same as everyone else, and that's all that's real. And so that which is the same in everyone, beyond the constructions of like, I'm Sage and I go to school and I have to do this and I'm thinking about this right now, beyond that which is the same in everyone, if you're always aware of that and you're always being that which is the same, that's psychological freedom. So you're free from the construction of your psyche.
So that
Psychological freedom to me is having the freedom to think before you act, not necessarily just reacting off of impulse.
Oh, okay, cool. Psychological freedom. I never heard that concept, psychological freedom.
Okay.
I mean, I think that our thinking can set us free. My thing is, I couldn't say I'm me without other people. I just couldn't. psychological freedom? What would my psychology be if I wouldn't have had other people's psychology to help influence me to become somebody?
What makes you think I'm not there already?
A wide open space. I feel like when people are among other people, they feel pressured to act a certain way.
Yeah.
And like as much as they try and act psychologically free, they're always going to be tied down in a certain element by trying to interact with people. So, and like when you're alone and all you have to do is think about like what has happened and what's going to happen and where you are in the moment, and you don't have to speak to anybody or act a certain way, then you're psychologically free.
Me personally? No, I would say I'm bound by a little bit of my own judgment in the process of releasing. What would it take? A lot of breath work, deep breathing really helps me a lot. Releasing and sitting in the woods.
To live in the woods.
Why?
Because then you could just not see anyone, and so you wouldn't feel like you had to do things for them. Because people always want something from you.
In this moment where you're in your life right now, what would it take for you to just be free? Feel completely free?
Like, not having school and not having rules from my parents, then I would feel free.
I don't know if anyone is psychologically completely free, because there's a lot that goes into the mind on a daily basis that is not necessarily considered freedom. But I would say for the most part, I'm good at.
And what are you bound by? What are you not freed of?
Probably, I would say, not to sound negative or anything, but sometimes other people's opinions. Naturally, I think people can get too caught up in what other people think and not what they think. I would say that I have my own opinions of myself as well.
And
that's hard to escape as well, definitely.
To just realize that everybody's right or everybody's wrong, you know, just to see that, like, as long as there's all these conflicting truths, it's not about picking the right side, it's about seeing that there are both sides and then just having that in your mind as you go through life.
So then you see yourself as free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a buttload of money. You figure that in everyday society, a lot of people do a lot of, like, we do a lot of things because of money. But when you have money, you're able to think and make your next move according to what you want to do. Of course, there's other stipulations when you're rich. But let's say, for instance, like with me, I work 2 jobs because I have to, not because I want to. And so even when I don't want to get up at, 6 o'clock in the morning, I still have to because, I have responsibilities, I have bills I gotta pay, I got kids. So I have a whole lot of responsibilities. But if I made a lot more money, I can probably get up a whole lot later, sleep in. And it just gives me the chance to think about what I want to do rather than forcing myself what to do.
What would it take for you to be psychologically free by your own definition?
My psychology, am I trapped by my psychology? Am I freed by my psychology? I don't know. I'm the sum total of all of my experiences, and I'm trying to reach a point where I can be as productive as possible. Work harder, better. So maybe it's not a bad idea for me to be psychologically trapped to some degree, because I've got something to try to break out of.
What if you didn't have that?
I would turn into a puddle.
You would what?
Turn into a puddle.
So what would it take for you to be fully psychologically free?
Probably leave this planet.
That's the question.
Go on the moon for a while.
You're not free?
Not totally. I don't know if anybody can be totally psychologically free. Unless you're some Zen master living in a cave eating herbs.
But you, Frank, you are not free.
Yes, I am. But not totally. I don't know if anybody can be totally free without being totally crazy.
Are you psychologically free?
No.
No. So, what would it take for you to be psychologically free?
To believe that I am. I don't think there's such thing as psychological freedom.
Why not?
Because I think that we're limited as human beings on this planet in our conditioning. We're all conditioned. It's inescapable.
To see the constructions as false, to see that everything, and I mean, not false as in it doesn't exist, you know, it's clearly there, your thoughts are there, and they're creating this whole world, but like right now, like whatever I'm thinking about you with your camera, and whatever he's thinking about me and you, and I'm thinking about him, all that's just a construction, and it's there, but I mean, if you're to really be free from it, you just see that although there's these separations for me to think about, at the core there's something that this actuality of my experience right now is the same as the actuality of your experience, and that's what's real for everyone, and it's always there. So to always be with that understanding and at one with that which is everything would be true freedom.
So, are you free?
Yes, and so are you.